The driver's door was still swinging when I stepped outside, like someone had just climbed out of our car and vanished into the dark. Nate had insisted on onion rings at QuikGo Mart, even though the strip mall lot felt deserted and damp from a recent drizzle. "I'll wait," he'd said, reclining his seat. I hated when he sent me inside like an errand runner, but it was quicker not to argue. Inside, I found a lone cashier, an older man with heavy eyelids and the slowest hands I'd ever seen. He read the barcode twice, fumbled the register, and counted coins like each was a decision. The air hummed with the freezer's low drone. My impatience swelled. Finally out, I found the car empty. Door open, engine off. No, Nate. I glanced back through the glass. The cashier was still behind the counter, still unmoved. Panic pressed a cold palm to my chest. "Nate?" I called, circling the car, scanning the lot. Only puddles, a buzzing light, and the quiet silver curve of the moon. My breath quickened. I rushed inside. "My boyfriend is missing." The cashier blinked, face pinched, but calm, too calm. Not surprised. I watched his throat bob. His gaze slid past me to the windows like he was listening for something. "Where is he?" I demanded. He started, then flinched as if deciding. He reached under the counter. I stumbled back, but he pulled out not a threat but an old field flashlight. "Wait here," he said, suddenly alert, moving faster than before. He rounded the counter and slipped into the night. A second later, two sharp cracks split the quiet. Silence returned, heavier than before. I stood motionless, skin prickling. "Call the police, Lena," I dialed. The dispatcher told me to stay put. My eyes drifted to the dark beyond the glass, to the alley slicing behind the mart like a mouth. 5 minutes stretched like 50. I stepped outside anyway. Rounding the building, my shoe brushed something soft. The flashlight lay on the asphalt, its lens cracked beside the cashier still, his face turned away. I squeezed my eyes shut, steadying my breath. The beam, half alive, bled light along the cinder block. It caught on a small utility shed set back in shadow, its door slightly ajar. Inside, a metallic scent rode the cold. A portable lamp glared over an improvised table. Stainless surfaces, tubed bags, and a rolling cart covered in sterile wraps. A man in a rumpled lab coat, hair damp with sweat, hovered over someone. "Welcome," a woman's voice purred behind me. I turned. She was striking. Dark hair, a red sheath dress beneath a gray coat, and a smile bright as glass. "Looking for someone?" "Nate," I managed. "Where is he?" She studied my face like a jeweler studies a gemstone. He said he was alone. I glanced past her. The figure on the table stirred. "Nate?" He groaned, not fully awake. The man in the coat, Dr. Cade, the woman called him, didn't look up, murmuring to himself about type matching, inventory, and schedules. The woman, Scarlett, stepped closer, eyes gleaming. "You look healthy," she said. "Cade prefers healthy." I backed away. "The police are coming." "They always say that." She tilted her head. "You have a choice. Leave and forget, or stay and be helpful." For a heartbeat, I saw everything at once. The easiness with which Nate flirted with strangers, the way he'd waved me off, and the slow cashier who'd tried to help. A siren's faraway wail threaded the night. Scarlett's smile thinned. "Decide." My hands shook. I took a breath sharp enough to hurt and said, "There's a patrol car in the lot," loud enough for the man in the coat to hear. Scarlett's eyes flashed. She hissed a warning to Cade, and he quickly turned off the lamp. By the time I fumbled for the switch, the shed door swung. Footsteps slapped the wet ground, and they were gone, into the maze of fences and service lanes. I called out to Nate again. He was dazed, whispering my name, pressing a trembling hand to my wrist. We staggered toward the opening light as officers rounded the corner. They found the flashlight first, then us, then a makeshift clinic that told them exactly what they needed to know without any gruesome details. A detective squinted up at the security camera on the shed, lens neatly taped over. In the morning, the QuikGo windows reflected a new sun. They took our statements. They drew tape around the alley. They promised they'd review nearby cameras, traffic lights, and ride-hail logs. As we sat on the curb, Nate held my hand hard, saying he was sorry, that he'd only gone to ask for napkins, that a woman had smiled and asked the time, and... "I know," I said, voice flat. "What?" "You weren't alone," I said. "I was always here." He looked at me like he didn't understand. Maybe he didn't, but I did, and I wasn't going to forget Scarlett's eyes or the way her heels didn't splash when she ran. That night, long after the caution tape came down, I drove past QuikGo and watched the lot from across the road. The swinging door had stilled. The glass only held my reflection. But somewhere in the gridded dark, shoes were drying by a radiator, clean coats were hanging on hooks, and a woman in red was choosing another stranger with a smile that felt like a dare. He came in for gas. He left without a trace. And I made sure the security footage couldn't tell anyone why. I own the Quick-Mart Hollow Creek franchise off County 12. It's not glamorous, but routine makes a good leash. Day shifts keep me steady. Invoices, shelf counts, refunds. My team, Mia and Theo, are college kids with quick smiles and better hearts than this town deserves. They call me Mr. Hale, never Victor. I like it that way. Space keeps everyone safe. The Tuesday calm was a blessing. Bright sun, wind chimes from the nail salon 2 doors down. A blue sedan slid to pump 4. The driver, average height, average clothes, average posture, looked like someone you'd forget on purpose. He filled his tank, eyes skimming our windows as if they were mirrors. Mia greeted him. He nodded, drifted through aisles, and lingered near the back room door. That door is labeled employees only. Most people read. A stunning percentage don't. Theo motioned at me. Want me to watch him? I've got inventory, I said, and stepped into the utility room anyway. Old habits. The shelves breathed the smell of cardboard and cleaner. Through the crack, I watched him sneak glances at the frame, at me, then pretend to browse. Not many folks stare into the staff corridor like it's a stage. Mia brushed in, whispering, "He's creeping me out." "Hang behind the counter with Theo," I told her. "I'll be right there." I stepped out. "Can I help you find something?" He forced a laugh, eyes flitting to the back. "What's back there?" "Stock, office, nothing for customers." He smirked, wandered off, then looped back, closer to the line he wasn't allowed to cross, like he needed to prove something to himself or to me. Mia's jaw had tightened. Theo straightened, shoulders squared, the moment snapped. He pushed past the sign. Theo moved first. "Sir, you can't be—" The man's voice went sharp. "What are you hiding?" His hand dipped into his pocket. "Stop," I barked, stepping in. He jerked, Mia gasped, and Theo raised his hands like a coach calling time out. The man's face blazed, and suddenly we were all talking over each other until the man shoved me. I caught his wrist, pivoted him into the threshold, and we wrestled, bumping the mop bucket and scattering a tower of paper towels. "Call the police!" I shouted to Theo, "Take Mia up front." Minutes splintered. By the time sirens flashed the windows, he'd slipped free, out a side exit, gone between buildings. The officers asked questions, took notes, and checked the pumps. The sedan still sat at 4 like a dog waiting for its owner. They promised to run the plates and pulled away. I smiled, thanked them, and watched their cruiser turn onto County 12. Then I wheeled the mop bucket back into the utility room, closed the door, and slid the bolt I'd installed myself. Space keeps everyone safe. That's what I tell myself when I pass the shelf that looks deeper than it is. When I move the false panel a hair to the left. And when I check that the built-in cubby is dark and undisturbed. I made mistakes when I was younger. I don't make them now. The Hollow Creek Quick-Mart cured me. Routine fixed me. My hands are steady when I sort invoices, and they are steady when I sort other things too. On the monitor, I replayed the scene, a privilege the police didn't request. The man wasn't grabbing a weapon. He was pulling his phone. He thought calling from the back would reveal something that doesn't exist on camera. He wouldn't have found anything anyway. Not now. I glanced at the far storage nook, the one only I open. No smell leaks. No trace escapes. No story survives except the one I tell. Mia and Theo don't know. They'll never know. They shouldn't have to carry it. Hours later, a tow truck hauled away the blue sedan. Mia asked if I was okay. I told her yes, that people sometimes panic when their lives feel small. She nodded, soft with sympathy. Theo cracked a joke. We laughed, returned to counting, and aligned labels to face forward. The day reset itself. At closing, I watched the parking lot settle into blue. If you'd asked me then whether I am a good man, I would have said yes. I protect my staff. I keep my floors clean. I guard the line that customers shouldn't cross. And when someone peers too long into places that belong to me, places that keep us all safe. I make those places a little deeper. The rock came through my bedroom window like a second moon, bright, swift, and impossible to ignore. I work nights at Brightway Market off the freeway. The shift is a parade of oddities. Truckers with stories, couples with midnight cravings, and teens buying energy drinks like Courage. That night, a scuffle broke out over a bag of cheese puffs. Roxy, a jittery 20-something with bitten nails, and a brittle woman in her 30s with an icicle stare. I slid between them, promised to restock, and handed each a bag from the storeroom like a kindergarten teacher separating crayons. Roxy lingered at the counter, eyes raw. "Why do you want me to leave?" she asked. "I don't," I said evenly, "but I have to help other customers." She sneered, purchased nothing, and drifted out under the buzzing sign. I exhaled and counted the minutes until shift change. The next morning, my coworker texted before sunrise. She came back. "Asking for you." "I'll tell Mr. Alvarez," I wrote. Our manager was a calm sender, the kind who tamed storms by speaking softly. I hadn't decided whether to call the police when the first rock shattered the window beside my bed. Glass sprinkled the carpet like sugar. I hit the floor as a second brick thudded against the sill. When I peeked out, Roxy stood on the sidewalk below, grinning, eyes glinting like oil. "Wakey, wakey, sunshine," she sang, then wandered off laughing as if she'd pressed a doorbell. I sat there, heart sprinting, phone in my hand. I should have called 911. Instead, I called Mr. Alvarez. He asked me to come in. He'd stay on site. "You won't be alone," he said. At Brightway, the morning traffic moved like gentle weather. I stocked shelves while Mr. Alvarez rang customers, steady, unflappable. It felt almost normal until it didn't. I turned and found Roxy inside, mouth curved like a paper cut. We locked eyes. Cold raced up my arms. "Help me find the chips," Mr. Alvarez said quietly, stepping beside me. I led him and, without looking back, heard Roxy trailing us, whispering filth only I could hear. Things about knives and bed sheets and hearts that don't deserve to beat. My chest tightened. My hand shook as I faced her. "Enough," I said, voice low. "You need to leave." She smiled wider, cheeks hollow. "Make me." Mr. Alvarez stepped forward. "Ma'am, you can't threaten my employee." "Who are you to order me?" she snapped, voice cracking. "I'm the owner," he said, soft as a warning bell. She laughed. She flung loyalty cards at him like confetti. She grabbed items at random and tossed them. People froze. Mr. Alvarez's jaw flexed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture, he moved. He caught her wrist, turned her toward the door, and guided her over the threshold. She stumbled to the curb, breath heaving, rage draining into a small, shuddering cry. For a long minute she sat there, then rose and walked away, shrinking into daytime. I never saw her again. Some nights I'd look out my new window and imagine the click of her shoes on a different sidewalk, the thin sound of her laugh unspooling down a stranger's street. I still wish I'd called the police. But I think about Mr. Alvarez's hand, steady, firm, never cruel, and how sometimes the strongest thing you can do is insist on a boundary and keep your people safe. Evil doesn't always kick in the door. Sometimes it asks in a shaky voice where the strawberry shakes are. I was alone on the register at Harbor's Edge corner stop when the bell chimed and an elderly woman shuffled in. Soft sweater, careful steps, eyes worn out as rain. "Do you have strawberry shakes?" she asked. "Second aisle, ma'am," I said, offering to fetch one. "No, dear." "You're very kind," she smiled. A second chime. A gaunt and restless man entered, his eyes wide open. He hovered near the sandwiches, tearing into one with hungry hands. I watched him from the corner of my eye, wary but patient. People come to a convenience store hoping for mercy. Food, warmth, a place to stand where the light doesn't hurt. I chose to see him that way. The woman placed one shake on the counter, then a second. We traded coins and kindness. As she turned toward the washroom, the man approached, sandwich half gone, apology tumbling from his mouth. "I was starving," he mumbled. "I can pay." "It's fine," I said, ringing him up. He didn't take his change. He didn't leave. He studied me instead. "What time do you close?" he asked. "That depends," I replied, tapping keys I didn't need to tap. "Lots of work tonight." He kept standing there. "Want a smoke?" he asked, "and take a break?" "You look tired." "No," I said. Irritation pricked. "There are cameras." "Please go." He flinched. "Just trying to—" "Is he bothering you, dear?" A voice called from behind him. The elderly woman had returned, chin lifted, eyes suddenly sharp. I nodded. "I'm calling 911, I said, lifting my phone. The woman planted herself like an oak. "Leave her alone," she told the man. "Get out!" He backed away, wounded and sour. He moved toward the door. The woman moved too. I exhaled, too soon. At the threshold, he spun, lunged, and they crashed to the floor. "Get off me," she cried. My thumb hit 911, words stumbling. "There's an assault, Harbor's Edge corner, stop, send help." Then the man grabbed something and flung it. A knife skidded across the tile, clattering at my feet. He was breathing hard. "Check her pocket," he rasped. I saw it when she passed me for the bathroom. The room tipped. The woman stopped pleading and started smiling. The soft sweater, the careful steps, the quiver, all gone. She rose with a steadiness that made the light seem too bright. Her eyes were dry stone. "You ruined everything," she snarled, voice wrong in her throat. Blue strobes splashed the glass. Officers burst in and shouted commands. The woman didn't argue. She understood the math of time and evidence. Later, a detective told me her name and another name the papers gave her. The Porcelain Widow, wanted for a string of quiet killings at late-night shops with only one employee. A kind face at the wrong hour. I apologized to the gaunt man. He shrugged, eyes damp, shame tucked into his pockets. "I shouldn't have lingered," he said. "I just didn't want to go back outside yet." I handed him his change. "Thank you," I said, "for seeing what I didn't." That night I stocked the strawberry shakes down to the last bottle. I straightened the labels, wiped the cooler glass, and stared at my reflection. Not a hero, not a fool. Just someone who still believes that people can be saved, even when some people are busy trying to prove otherwise. When the storm came down like shattered glass, I realized I wasn't stuck on the road. I was stranded in someone else's trap. The highway was empty, the kind of midnight where every mile feels borrowed from a dream. My old hatchback coughed once and died beneath the Highpoint stop sign, its flickering red letters slicing through sheets of rain. I cursed softly, slamming the steering wheel, watching lightning crawl across the hills like fractured veins of light. I checked my phone. 2% battery. No signal bars. The storm had eaten the world. Inside, Highpoint stop looked almost welcoming. Shelves neat, floor shining wet from a recent mop, coffee machine hissing. Behind the counter stood a woman with slick black hair and lipstick too perfect for the graveyard shift. Her name tag read Marla. "Rough night," I said, shaking off the rain. She smiled slowly, eyes never leaving mine. "Rough nights are my specialty." Her voice was soft but measured, like a teacher grading an essay she already hated. She poured coffee, slid it across the counter, and asked where I was headed. "Back to Blackwater Ridge," I said. "Car broke down right outside." I called a friend. "He's driving here." Marla's smile tightened. "The basement's got tools. Could take a look before he comes." I hesitated. "Basement?" She nodded toward a narrow hall behind her. Its light blinked like a dying heartbeat. "We keep jacks, chains, and spare batteries. You'd be surprised what people leave behind." My stomach turned. "Thanks, but I'll wait." Something flickered behind her eyes, not anger, not disappointment. Something older, like she'd heard that answer too many times. "Suit yourself," she said, and began wiping an already clean counter. I sat near the window, nursing the coffee, watching my car drown in rain. Every thunderclap made the glass tremble. The fluorescent lights buzzed, dimmed, and brightened again. The hum of the freezer seemed louder, slower, and heavier. My phone vibrated. "Ty, yo, still alive?" He barely hurried, then the signal dropped. The next moment, Marla appeared beside me. I hadn't heard her footsteps. "You look tense," she said. "Want to stretch your legs?" "The basement's warm." "I'm good, thanks." "Suit yourself," she whispered again, and she walked toward the back. The hallway light winked out completely. That's when I saw it. The corner of a wet handprint on the inside of the glass door. Like someone had tried to leave but couldn't. It was too small to be Marla's. The bell chimed. For a moment I thought my friend had arrived, but no one entered. Did you hear that? I asked. Marla's voice floated from the hall. Hear what? The air felt heavier, pressing on my chest. I stood and walked behind the counter. The door to the basement stood open, a staircase descending into darkness. The smell drifting up wasn't of tools or oil. It was something metallic and faintly sweet, like a wet coin. I took one step down. The wooden stair creaked. A single bulb swung on a chain, casting nervous shadows on the walls. There were boxes, tarps, and a table. Nothing unusual except the stains that looked like they didn't belong to food or paint. A sudden vibration startled me. My phone buzzed again. Ty, 10 minutes away. Storm's insane. I turned toward the stairs. Marla was there, halfway down, smiling as if we were sharing a secret. Find what you needed? She asked. I forced a laugh. Didn't realize it was self-service. She didn't move. Curiosity's good. Keeps people alive. Sometimes. Her hand rested on the rail, nails as red as her lipstick. For a second, the light caught something metallic behind her. A crowbar leaning by the wall. I swallowed. I should wait outside. My friend's close. Her smile didn't change. Of course. Just be careful. The storm hides things. I brushed past her, pulse drumming in my ears, and pushed through the glass doors into the rain. It felt like baptism, cold, cleansing, real. My car was still there, a dark silhouette under the storm. I ran my hand along its roof just to make sure it was solid, not another illusion. Then headlights sliced through the downpour. Ty's truck. He pulled up and rolled down the window. Dude, you look like hell. Inside's worse, I said. Let's go. Wait, coffee first? He grinned, always casual. Are you sure you're not overreacting? Before I could stop him, he hopped out, jogged toward the door, and pushed it open. Hey there, I heard him call. Are we good for a jack or tow rope? The store looked darker than before, like the power had dimmed. Marla stood behind the counter again, expression pleasant, eyes hollow. She tilted her head. Sometimes, she said. Ty blinked. Sometimes what? Sometimes we have what people need. He glanced at me. I mouthed, let's go. But he just smirked. Friendly bunch, huh? Then I saw it, behind the counter at knee level, a sliver of light through another door and shapes hanging on hooks. Not tools, not chains, just shapes, Ty. My voice cracked. Now, he caught the tone. Right, thanks for nothing, he said loudly, turning. Marla's voice followed us, almost cheerful. Drive safe. Storm's not done yet. We burst outside, slammed the truck doors, and peeled away. Ty laughed nervously. Creepy, man. Are you sure you didn't just imagine half of that? I didn't answer. My pulse was still echoing louder than the thunder. The wipers beat faster. The storm blurred everything into streaks of gray. When we hit the ridge, the radio caught static, then a voice soft and grainy. Highpoint. Stop is still closed due to a power outage. Authorities investigating missing persons. Ty turned it down slowly. Bro, he said. That's the same place, isn't it? I stared out at the lightning tearing the sky open. Yeah. Silence filled the truck. There was only the sound of rain and the sound of the road. Then Ty chuckled weakly. Guess you were right to skip the basement. I tried to smile, but it didn't come. Some basements are built for things that don't need fixing. As we passed the last curve, I looked in the side mirror. Through the sheets of rain, Highpoint Stop's red sign flickered once more, then went dark completely. For a moment, I thought I saw Marla standing under it, coat whipping in the wind, holding something small and shining in her hand. Maybe a wrench, maybe a phone. The keys might belong to someone else. I blinked, and she was gone. The storm ended by dawn, but the highway never forgot her smile, or the promise hidden under that single word. Sometimes.